Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be doing the second installment of my offseason preview videos, going over this time the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the most interesting teams this offseason, really every offseason. I mean, it's the Lakers, come on. But obviously, a lot to talk about today. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and also comment what team you'd like to see me do. I'm going to try to do as many teams as possible, or at least the teams I do find interesting. Thinking of maybe doing the Celtics or Suns next. So yeah, just like and subscribe. Let's get right into it. So the Lakers last year made one of the biggest trades in NBA history, trading for Luka Doncic. Not going to get into that. I'll cry myself to sleep tonight. But this team is in a really interesting position because they're balancing having LeBron James, who is 40 years old, and an overall pretty old-ish roster, but trading for Luka extended their window dramatically. So they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place of needing to get better next season, not wanting to waste LeBron, but also having to balance like, hey, Luka's probably going to be here for a while. We don't want to, per se, ruin his chances. So let's get into the roster first of all. Starting with LeBron James, making $52.6 million on a player option. Now, all the reporting I have read is that LeBron is not going to take a pay cut. He is going to pick up that player option. It's going to make it harder, to be 100% honest, to make moves. Not having that flexibility, I suggested earlier in the offseason that he take a $12 to $15 million pay cut. It would allow the Lakers to have more money in their mid-level exception, just more overall flexibility, but I doubt he takes it. He'll more than likely pick up that player option, though it doesn't really ruin the offseason, doesn't make it too difficult, it's just going to make it a little bit more. Next is Luka. Now, the Luka piece of this is the most important for the Lakers, and that is making sure he extends this offseason. Now, will he? I don't know. If I had to guess what those conversations sound like behind closed doors in those dinners that he's having with Rob Pelinka, there's one of two things. Either A, Luka loves LA, and he's coming back 100%. Or he's going to Rob Pelinka and saying, hey, I'd love to come back. I don't want to have to uproot my family again. I don't want to have this reputation as a guy who's just like bouncing between team to team. I want to build a legacy in one place. But you have to show me that you're willing to build around me, right? I don't want to get the rug pulled out from under me like I did in Dallas. Prove to me you are committed to me long term. So what does that mean? Is that going to mean the Lakers are looking more to like, hey, Luka is going to leave if we don't build a good team? Like if the Lakers flame out again and they didn't make moves, Luka might just say, hey, I'm done. Because of the fact that he got traded from Dallas, he cannot receive a supermax extension anywhere. The most money he can make is just the max, meaning in theory, he's going to make the same amount of money whether he's in LA or somewhere else going forward. So their leverage cannot be monetarily. It has got to be because of LA. So we'll see. It's going to be very interesting. It's the most important part for them. If he is willing to extend this offseason, then they have no pressure to get better. They can just, who cares about this season, right? Just look towards the future. Next is Rui Hachimura. I don't know about Rui. I'm a little iffy on him. He's a good player offensively. Defensively, he has some problems. I think his biggest is just he's not very quick. He's kind of a tweener in the sense that he's not quick enough to really guard guards or quick wings, but he's not athletic enough vertically or strength-wise to really be like a weak side rim protector power forward. We really saw that against Julius Randle in the Minnesota series. Like, he couldn't guard Julius, he couldn't guard Ant. Now, he is a good offensive player, and he's a great three-point shooter and can attack post mismatches. But I really don't think he's someone who I'm too locked into long term. I would prefer to keep him. I do think he's good, but if we need to trade him in a trade, you trade him in a trade. Dorian Finney-Smith next up. I love Dodo. He's so good. Just kind of the perfect 3-and-D wing. Like, it's what he does. He shoots threes. He plays defense. He's a little older. He's on a player option. I don't know if he's going to pick this up. the Lakers are going to bring him back. I don't think he's going to make more than $15 million. I expect him to probably just pick that up. And if not, it'll be at that same money, so I don't think it'll affect our cap sheet too much. He's really good. He could start. He can come off the bench. Austin Reeves. A lot of talk about Austin Reeves. Keep, trade, extend. Is he a part of your future? In my opinion, it depends a little bit on how all in are you next year. If you are all in, like all in on winning, like that's all that matters to us, is that we win the championship next season, you trade Austin Reeves, in my opinion. But if you are confident that you can make a smaller trade, still be competitive, and bring Luka back, you keep Reeves. Because I do think he has that upside of being a all-star caliber guard next to Luka. And I don't think their fit in and of itself is a problem. Like, Luka and Kyrie worked out great. It's a simple fact that the rest of the roster, not really tailored for those two. I would lean towards keeping him because I don't know who you trade him for. Like, I'm not trading him for Daniel Gafford. I'm not trading him for any of these other, like, role player big men. It would have to be like Bam if I'm trading Austin Reeves, and I don't think Bam's available. His extension's very interesting, but I think this is probably the last year LeBron plays in the NBA. I really don't see him going longer than next year, and I really think if you're the Lakers, you go to LeBron and like, hey, we want you to stay this year, we need you, but we're not tied. They're not tied to LeBron anymore, and they have Luka. Like, Luka is the team. He's who you're building around. LeBron, if he wants to stay, cool. If not, you look at the money. He's making $52.6 million. If LeBron leaves next offseason, and you just slice $52 million off, that's going to give them plenty of money to extend Austin Reeves at $30+ million, which I think he's worth. I think he's worth right around $35 million, and there's upside there, right? So I would just keep Austin and go to LeBron like, hey, you have 1 year left. And that's it. So I do think you keep Austin. Jared Vanderbilt, whatever, trade asset. Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleba, all three of them are going to be in every mock trade because they all make really easy salaries. Jared Vanderbilt less likely because of that 3 years. But Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleba are just the two easiest trade assets you could think of. They make $11 million, which is pretty much the league average on expiring, so bad teams would be willing to take on that money. If you don't trade them, they're off your books next season. None of them are really players that I'm looking at as people who are really important to the team next year. They didn't play in the biggest game of the season. You had to go 24 straight minutes of your starting five because your bench is that bad. Dalton Connect. I'm not a huge fan of Dalton Connect, honestly. Wings who can't play defense, who are role players, I'm just not a fan of that archetype. In my opinion, if you're a role player on a Luka team, you have to play defense. It's proven twice. When the Dallas Mavericks made the Western Conference Finals with Luka, it was had to have Luka and defenders. Now, I like Connect. I think he can be a good off-ball shooter, provide you some offensive punch, and I think maybe he could rise to being an average defender. It's in between me wanting to keep him and being just like, hey, we'll trade him, right? But I do like Dalton Connect. I think he is pretty good. Shake Milton, trade asset, whatever. Jordan Goodwin, honestly, played a little bit last year. I liked what he gave. $2.3 million, whatever. You got Bronny, future All-NBA, obviously, future MVP, Bronny James. And then Trey Jemison is on it too. With those players plus other cap holds, that gets you to $191.5 million, which is right about $3 million under the first apron, $17 million under the second apron. So you're not really in danger of getting to that second apron, and you're pretty close to that first apron. You will have the taxpayer mid-level exception, which is about $5.6 million. I don't know if you have that full exception with the way their cap sheet is, but either way, if you can shed like a couple million, like if you can go to Dorian Finney-Smith and say, hey, bro, can you take like $3 million pay cut this first year? They'll get the full taxpayer mid-level. That's about their only asset. I don't think they have the biannual exception. They might, though, but I'm not 100%. Depth chart, pretty rough, honestly. The first four, point guard through power forward, I'm fine with. You got Luka, Oscar, LeBron, Rui, but center, man, holy moly. I mean, you don't have a center on roster outside of Trey Jemison. And then the needs. NBA level center play. That one's pretty easy. Point of attack defense. This is one that I think is going to be a hard one to really do because, like, LeBron, Austin, and Reeves are starting. And Luka, sorry, are starting, almost certainly. It's going to be hard to get a point of attack defender. Now, the one exception to that is if you, say, move LeBron to the power forward position and you get a guy who's like a small forward, like a tweener. Like, thinking about, like, Christian Brown, like 6'5", stocky, built. I think that type of player can start. More than likely, your point of attack defense is going to have to come from the bench. So, that's tough. And then finally, better athletes across the board. As I said with the Luka piece, Luka is the second best floor raiser in the NBA outside of Nikola Jokic. In terms of he's a walking top 10 offense, almost no matter what personnel is around him. So what the Mavs did was figured out, hey, we'll have offensive deficiencies. But if we have Luka and Kyrie, it doesn't really matter. They made the finals, for God's sakes, doing that. So you need more athletes. And honestly, all three of these needs, you just need better defensive players in general, more athleticism. The offense didn't really work last year, towards the end of the season. You were not a very good offense with Luka and Reeves and LeBron. Now, that doesn't make sense to me because it's so much talent, but honestly, they didn't really know how to play together, and I thought JJ Redick was pretty bad as a head coach in terms of offensive planning. So that I'm not too worried about. And honestly, like, if you are worried about getting offensive players, then there's bigger problems than the team. In terms of the big three, do they fit? It's tough to say. I would lean towards no. But I think it more depends on the other two starters. Like, obviously, starting Luka, Austin, LeBron, Rui, and Jackson Hayes does not work. But if you started Luka, Austin, LeBron, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Nick Claxton, I might feel a little differently about that big three. It's really down to the role players, to me. The big three is the big three. The role players are going to determine whether this team is a finals contender or if they're losing in the first round again. Final thoughts, just in terms of the team as it stands. Not a lot of draft assets, obviously, and it's a tough position to be in because you have a lot of holes. And I think you're going to have to hit a lot on some value additions. I think, for example, vet minimums have got to be hit this year, right? You have to find, in my opinion, I think you realistically have 3 players that I'm confident in playing in the playoffs. 4 with Rui and Dorian Finney-Smith, who I forgot to put on my depth chart here. That's on me. But you have 5 players who I'm confident can play in the playoffs. I think you need 8 going in the next season that you feel like can play in the playoffs. So how do we get those final 3 players? It's going to be the big question. There's not a lot of assets, so I don't know. And they might go and look at it and get Luka extended this offseason and say, we're just not going to be able to do it. And we're going to give up on the LeBron stuff, play out the final next year. Maybe we add, like, sign some random center and lose in the second round, but maybe we got Luka extended, LeBron's off the books, and we can kind of reset how we want to build the team. Might be what they do. They could also say, hey, maybe there is a trade on the table that gets you a center, and maybe you find that 3-and-D guard, and you're able to get your vet minimums, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, maybe we can contend. Do I think this team can win an NBA title next season? I do, but it would take a pretty insane offseason. Like, you get multiple guys who could make taxpayer mid-level money at vet minimum money. You get a trade for a pretty high-level starting center. Austin Reeves takes another step and is actually consistent in the playoffs. Luka gets back to 2023, 2024 form. A lot of ifs, but I do think it's possible. So that's the roster. My thoughts on every player on the roster, the big needs, and now we're going to get into the best part of the video, what everybody's here to see, which is going to be the trades and additions. So let's get right into it. Moving into our trade targets with my number one option, in my opinion, being Nick Claxton. So, as we can see here on my beautiful slideshow, we have bio, contract, stats, strengths, advanced numbers, all those things, including my mock trade. So Nick Claxton is my number one option for the Lakers to trade, and it's for a multitude of reasons. I think number one, he is the type of center that the Lakers need to add, and that is someone who can be a great roll man in the pick and roll, be an effective roller. I really thought that, especially when he played with James Harden, when he was a bit younger, was when he was at his best as a roller. Last couple of years, I mean, look at the Nets roster. Tell me how many of those people are real NBA players. But his thing is his defense, right? He's one of the best switchable big men in the NBA. Someone who can switch out on the guards and defend them effectively, as well as guarding true big men. He's a great rim protector. As you can see, 82nd percentile block percentage, which isn't the best number for rim protection, but it's kind of the simplest to explain. And then obviously high flyer. I just really like what Claxton is as a defender, as someone who fits the kind of scheme that JJ Redick wants to run, which is, hey, we're going to switch 1 through 5, right? We're not going to try and do a bunch of crazy stuff in terms of, you know, hedging and hedge and recovers. Like, we're going to switch, we're going to load up, we're going to zone up. And Nick Claxton fits that. I also think that he's someone who you can just play more traditional drop coverage with. His weaknesses are he's pretty skinny. He's listed at 215. That was probably when he was a rookie. He's probably around 230. But he's not going to guard Jokic or Zubac. Like, he's just not that physically strong. And offensively, he is pretty limited. I mean, all he can really do is catch lobs. He's a pretty good rebounder. Can get offensive rebounds at a pretty high clip. Bad free throw shooter. He tried to shoot threes last year. Did not work at all. He's not a shooter. There's a little bit of playmaking there that I'm interested in, but nothing that I think is too important. So the mock trade I have up here is going to be Nick Claxton for Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, Dalton Connect, and an unprotected 2031 first. Obviously, I would do this trade in a heartbeat. Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleber are not a part of my plans, and as much as I do like Dalton Connect, he doesn't fit on this current roster. You give him a pick. Would the Nets do this? I'm not really sure. I think obviously this makes sense if the Nets are just going full tank, which they are. They got the 8th pick. Claxton, does he really make sense? Does he fit their timeline? He's 3 years left on his deal. He is very young, 26, another reason I want him. Almost every center I actually want are young. And this would be, hey, we like Dalton Connect. We get a draft pick. Like, hey, if Luka leaves, that 31 first could be very interesting. We get expiring money. I don't know if they want to do it, but I would do it if I'm the Lakers. And I do really think that Nick Claxton is everything the Lakers want at center. He is a roller. He's a great defender. He's switchable. He's versatile. Does he necessarily immediately make them a championship contender? Probably not. But it gets them close, especially in this type of trade. Like, you're not giving up anybody important. None of these dudes could really see the floor in the playoffs. So you're effectively getting rid of 0 playoff minutes for a guy who can play 30 minutes. Last time he was in the playoffs, I think he was averaging right around 22 to 24. And again, I like the Rui at the 5. Small ball lineups. It just can't be for 40 minutes. Small ball is great in spurts. It's not good in huge stretches because it is very labor intensive to play that type of defense, because you have to be so locked in and so effort intensive versus having a guy like Claxton, who is a more traditional big man who, hey, we can just play drop for a couple possessions if we're getting a little tired. So my number one option, he's been tied to the Lakers a lot. I'd be all in on Nick Claxton. Next up, we have Daniel Gafford, another guy who's been heavily tied to the Lakers. 6'10", 265, 26 years old. 1 year left on his deal. Obviously had a good year last year. Really had a great year offensively. And obviously was an integral part of the Mavs making the finals. Making $14.3 million. His stats, again, put up good numbers. Incredibly efficient around the basket. One of the best big man finishers in the league, in my opinion, in terms of just he makes every layup. I mean, he had damn near broke Wilt's record for most made shots in a row with 30-something. Advanced numbers, 4.3 on-off. He was very effective. 3.9% block percentage. 96th percentile in that metric. Again, the strengths. Elite screener roll man. Pretty effective offensive rebounder and a quality shot blocker. And then I'd also put a fourth point. Has chemistry with Luka. I think Gafford's pretty good. Now, he also could not play against the Boston Celtics. And he was clearly the worst center between him and Derek Lively. Like, there were moments in that playoff run where it was just like, man, Lively has to sub out right now. Like, most fourth quarters, if they were close, was going to be Derek Lively playing the entire fourth quarter. Because it was just that big of a gap in terms of the talent between the two. Even though Gafford is supremely talented, he's just not a super high-end center. He's like the 18th or 19th best guy. Now, the trade I have will be Daniel Gafford to the Lakers, Don't Connect, and a lottery-protected first. Now, that could either be a protected first or a swap. I think in negotiations, you would try to get that to be a pick swap. And then Gabe Vincent and a couple seconds going to the Nets. Now, I did this because I don't think it makes sense for the Mavs to trade for Gabe Vincent and Don't Connect at all, really. It does make sense, though, for the Mavs here. You get off $10 million. You need to get under the second apron. Go watch my Mavs offseason video if you want to figure out why. They'd get a draft pick, and they need shooting, and they get Don't Connect. There's also a lot of other different Gafford trades you can make. Again, in my Mavs video, I showed off a way that he could go to the Lakers in a 3-team, 4-team deal. So I like Gafford, but he's just not the same level as Claxton. Specifically as a defender, he just struggles a lot in space. He can sometimes really have some moments there, but as an offensive big, he's very good. The final trade target is Goga Bitadze. Probably a little under the radar name. 6'10", 250, 25 years old, making $8.3 million, 2 years left on his contract. Last year, in terms of his statisticals, 7.7 rebounds, 1.5 blocks in just 20 minutes. 5.8 on-off, which if you don't know what on-off is, forgot to explain that. Just your net rating when you're on the court versus the net rating when you're off the court. Pretty simple. Pretty good metric of measuring your impact. 3.9 block percentage, 95th percentile. He's really good. High impact rim protector, great rebounder, and I do think he has some upside as a short roll playmaker. Average 2 assists per game in just 20 minutes. I really like Goga's stuff. The questions for him are just, do the Magic want to trade him? And can he extrapolate that into more minutes? And he didn't really play in the playoffs at all. He's kind of been in this weird position where when he does play for the Magic, it's really good. Like, the Magic play better when he's on the court, but he doesn't play a lot. They have Wendell Carter. They have, obviously, Paolo plays a lot at the 5. They obviously have Mo Wagner. DEI hire Mo Wagner. But I think Goga, to me, would be like, okay, give me someone else and Goga. Give me another player and Goga. If he's my starting center, and that's the only offseason addition, it's not really helping me, because I'm not convinced he can be a playoff guy. But if it's, okay, we got Goga, and we signed someone, then I'm pretty happy. I do really like him, though. And if he can extrapolate those numbers to a little bit more minutes, I think he could be really good. Because he already is good, but can he just have more volume of play time? Moving on now to the free agents. I only have one more center, it's Nickeil Alexander-Walker, my fault. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, the first non-center in this list. 6'5", 26 years old. He's an unrestricted free agent. Had some good numbers, actually. Averaged 9 points, shot 38% from 3. +2 on-off, 47% corner three from the corner, which is 88th percentile. He's a great on-ball defender. I thought he did the best job on Shea of any of the Timberwolves. Like, Jaden McDaniels got sunned by Shea, and I thought Nickeil actually held his own pretty effectively. He's a reliable three-point shooter, shot 38%, and I think on a team that generates a little bit more open looks with the Lakers, he's going to shoot right around there. And I do think maybe there's playmaking upside there. To me, though, he's just a 3-and-D tweener wing. And as I talked about when I went over the roster, the Lakers need a guy like that. And I do think he would start over Rui. I think he's better than Rui. He's a guy who can guard 1 through 3. He guarded Shea. He guarded Steph. He guarded even Luka a little bit. He can guard bigger guys as well. He's just really good. He's a really good guy, whether he's starting or off the bench. The problem is, how do you get him? Because he's going to make full mid-level money, I would think. It'd be kind of surprising if he doesn't make it. He's such a valuable archetype. And to get to full mid-level, you'd have to get off a lot of money. Now, I don't think that's impossible. Like, when I did the Gafford trade, if we go back here to the Gafford one, with the Nets, like, there's a world where maybe you also dump Maxi Kleber to the Nets in a deal like this and get off a ton of money. Or LeBron takes the pay cut, and that would allow you to get Nikhil. I think a perfect offseason would be Nikhil Alexander-Walker and Goga Bitadze, where you're getting Goga, right, and Nikhil Alexander-Walker, or Gafford and Nikhil. The best is Claxton and Nikhil, but I don't think that's very likely. In terms of the weaknesses, I mean, he's just kind of a 3-and-D guard hybrid wing. Like, he's not going to do much else. He's not really a good offensive guy outside of shooting. Defensively, he's a kind of a wing. Like, there's not really many weaknesses outside of it's just kind of his archetype. So, would love Nikhil. I don't think it's very likely, unfortunately. It's just, I don't know how they're going to get the money without some pretty great maneuvering, but maybe LeBron takes the pay cut. And then finally, Clint Capella. I'm not very interested in a lot of these other free agent centers. Like Steven Adams, I'm interested in, but as a backup, like, if you bring in Capella on a vet minimum and you trade for Goga, it's like, okay, you're going to have 48 minutes of, like, better than Jackson Hayes. But Capella, 6'10", 31 years old, he's an unrestricted free agent. He had good numbers last year, 9 and 9, a block, but he was a negative when he was on the court. And at this point, he's a good rebounder. He's got a lot of experience. That's it. He's a terrible finisher. Like, he has some of the worst touch you'll ever see around the basket. As a defender, he is so unbelievably limited as like, he cannot defend outside of drop. And he's not very vertically athletic anymore, so he can't really do that. Like, okay, if it's a vet minimum and I have Capella and I have Claxton on the team, you can convince me on that being effective, but I just had to get a fifth guy on here. There's Brook Lopez. I'm so out on Brook Lopez. He doesn't do anything I want. Yeah, I mean, Al Horford, I love Al. Al Horford would be perfect. But he's also, at this page, not a starting center. He's a backup. Like, he's a backup 5. We saw that in the playoffs. Like, they ran him into the ground because of the way that Porzingis was playing. So, those are my 5 targets. There's a lot of other guys, and one of the big predictions I have is that the Lakers might do something out of left field. Could they revisit Mark Williams? Could they go after Walker Kessler? Walker Kessler is a name. A lot of people love bringing him up. I doubt it. I just, why would the Jazz ever trade him? I've wondered that for years. It's like, he's making $4 million. He's really good. And he's like 21. It's a team that desperately needs good players. Why would they trade him? So, yep. That's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Again, like, subscribe, and please comment what team you'd like me to do. As I said earlier, I'm going to do either the Celtics or Suns next. I want to talk about Kevin Durant and the fiasco that is the Phoenix Suns, but hopefully you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you next time.